Bill Laimbeer just crossed the line, calling out LeBron James and Kevin Durant like never before. His claim about the 80s is so brutal, even fans are split.
I'm very vocal. I think LeBron is the best player that's ever played the game. He's 6'8", 285 pounds, runs like the wind, and jumps out of the gym. But more importantly, when he came in the league from day one, he knew how to involve his teammates to win. And that's something that Jordan had to learn for a long time. Now, if you go by championships, obviously Michael Jordan has more championships. But I think LeBron in any generation would be doing what he's doing right now. All these
Bill Laimbeer just made a statement that a lot of people in the NBA won't like, and he meant every word. He didn't hold back at all. He directly called out LeBron James and Kevin Durant by name. The surprising part? It hasn't even blown up in the mainstream media yet. This isn't just a bitter retired player talking about the past. This is one of the toughest and most controversial players from the bad boy era, speaking out in 2025 and challenging today's biggest stars. And when you really look at what he said, it starts to feel uncomfortable, because some of his points are actually hard to disagree with.
But Phil, can you explain the bad boys to the youngsters out there? What feeling did you guys try to carry out on the court?
Win championships. That's all that really mattered to us. Our style of play was, everybody called it ugly and they called it ruining the game. But reality says that we changed the game.
There's a quote in The Last Dance from Michael Jordan where he says, quote, "I hated them." And he said, the hate carries to this day.
So let's go back for a moment, because to understand why this hit so hard, you need to know who Bill Laimbeer really was. Not the calm TV analyst or the coach people talk about. The real version of him. There's a reason he wasn't just disliked. He was hated across the league. Players, coaches, fans, if they weren't supporting his team, they couldn't stand him. And the wild part? He loved that reputation. He wore it like a badge of honor. Laimbeer wasn't the most athletic or flashy player. He wasn't going to beat you with speed or fancy moves. But what he mastered, what he turned into an art, was getting inside your head and frustrating you. And if it came down to it, he wasn't afraid to knock you to the floor. He played in an era where physical basketball wasn't just allowed, it was encouraged. There were no rules protecting players in the air like today. No long reviews, no easy fouls. If you drove into the paint, you were taking a real risk, and Laimbeer made sure you felt it. Back then, attacking the basket wasn't just about scoring, it was about survival, and Bill Laimbeer was right in the middle of all that chaos, hard fouls, mind games, and constant trash talk that would probably get players benched today. Fans in away arenas would even throw things at him, and he'd just stand there smiling like he enjoyed it. That's the level he operated on. So when someone like him talks about today's NBA, you can disagree or call it old school thinking, but you can't ignore it. He earned the right to speak his mind, even if it makes people uncomfortable. And in early 2025, that's exactly what he did.
LeBron James be the best player in the league if he was playing in your era?
Probably. There's no one like him in our time slot. He's 6'8", 280 pounds, runs like the wind and jumps out of the gym, and is a smart basketball player. There was no one like him physically in our time slot. Michael Jordan was a tremendous guard, but he wasn't 6'8", 280. That's what LeBron is, so he's pretty good.
We had this conversation yesterday trying to figure out who we thought the toughest NBA player was right now. Who do you think?
It started like a lot of things do today. A simple sit-down interview that nobody expected to blow up. Bill Laimbeer was just talking basketball, sharing old stories. And then the topic shifted to the modern game. And that's when everything changed. He leaned forward, calm and serious, and said, guys like LeBron James and Kevin Durant wouldn't have survived one night playing against us. No hesitation, no soft wording, just straight to the point. Then he explained why. He talked about how today's game is officiated differently. Superstars are protected. Hard fouls lead to reviews and suspensions. None of that existed in the 1980s. In his view, players like LeBron and KD have never faced the same kind of physical and mental pressure his generation dealt with every single night. He even added that today, players get touched and fall, holding their face. But back then, they would have just gotten up and kept playing. And if you showed any weakness, even once, the whole league would notice and come after you. Now here's where it gets interesting. Laimbeer isn't saying LeBron or KD lack talent. He's not saying they can't play. What he's really arguing is that the environment, the physical punishment, the constant pressure, and the lack of protection might have broken them. And that's a much harder point to ignore. He pushed it even further, saying that in his era, winning wasn't just about the scoreboard. The real goal was to make your opponent not even want to come back the next day. He went even further, saying some of the most talented scorers back then would quietly avoid certain matchups. Elite players would look for excuses to sit out back-to-backs against specific teams because they already knew what was coming. That's the kind of pressure the game had in that era. Then Bill Laimbeer dropped the line that blew everything up once the clips started spreading. He said, "LeBron James is a great player. I'll give him that. But greatness gets tested in uncomfortable situations, and I'm not sure he's ever truly been uncomfortable on a basketball court the way we made guys uncomfortable." That's the part people couldn't ignore. Because now it's not just about comparing eras, it's about questioning mentality and character. It sounds like Laimbeer is saying LeBron's career has been more controlled and protected, and because of that, maybe we'll never fully know how he would have handled a tougher, more physical environment. Whether you agree or not, that statement hits. But instead of reacting emotionally, it's worth actually looking at his point. The truth is, the 1980s NBA was a completely different world. Not just a little different, but fundamentally different. Back then, hand-checking was allowed. Defenders could put a forearm on you, slow you down, and it wasn't even considered a foul. It was just part of the game. Back then, there was no restricted area under the basket, no easy whistles to protect drivers, and no safety net for stars. But the biggest difference wasn't just the rules. It was the culture. Veterans didn't just play against rookies. They tested them. They pushed them mentally and physically to see if they truly belonged. Respect wasn't given easily. You had to earn it the hard way. There was no player empowerment, no easy exits when things got uncomfortable, and no perfectly built situations around you. You either survived or you got exposed. Now think about LeBron James for a second. He entered the league at 18 and managed everything. His career path, his image, his teams, even his long-term legacy, with a level of control nobody had seen before. That's undeniably impressive. But it also raises the question, did he play in a version of the league that was more controlled and less hostile than the 1980s? That's exactly what Bill Laimbeer is getting at, and why it hits a nerve. Then there's Kevin Durant, one of the most unstoppable scorers ever. On his best nights, no one can guard him. But his career has often been judged by how he responds when things get tough. The team changes, the fresh starts, the different situations has stepped into. Laimbeer's message is simple. Back then, you didn't get to choose your situation. You didn't get a perfect setup. You dealt with what you had and proved yourself through it. Is that completely fair? Maybe not. But it's also not completely wrong. And that's what makes it uncomfortable. Once those comments started spreading in early 2025, everything escalated fast. The clips went viral, and the reaction was immediate and loud. Former players jumped in from both sides, and the basketball world online exploded. On one side, you had old-school voices, players from the late 80s and 90s, quietly agreeing. Not everyone said it publicly, but you could feel the energy. A strong is not wrong sentiment. These weren't random opinions either. These were players who had actually been on the court in that era. Some even suggested that modern fans can't truly understand how physical the game used to be. Not from highlights, not from short clips. Because what they experienced night after night was something entirely different. You really had to live that era to understand it. But on the other side, younger players and analysts quickly stepped in to defend LeBron James and Kevin Durant. And their argument isn't wrong either. Every era produces the kind of players it demands. LeBron and KD aren't playing in the 1980s because this isn't the 80s. They adapted to their environment and dominated it, just like all-time greats are supposed to do. Then, like always, social media took things to another level. The moment the clip spread, the conversation split into two sides instantly. No middle ground. Old school vs modern era. Both sides fully convinced they were right. Now here's something interesting. LeBron hasn't said anything publicly, and that silence stands out, because when he feels disrespected, he usually responds. So either there's a strategy behind staying quiet, or he's decided it's not worth replying to a 67-year-old retired player like Bill Laimbeer. KD, on the other hand, was active online as expected. He didn't mention Laimbeer directly, but the tone made it obvious he was aware of the comments. He came across as calm and unbothered, but if you followed KD, you know that online persona doesn't always tell the full story. Here's where it gets deeper. This isn't the first time Laimbeer has criticized the modern NBA. Not even close. If you look at his past interviews, there's a clear pattern: frustration with how the league has changed, especially how today's stars are protected and celebrated in ways he feels take away from real greatness.